Alright, so tonight we are going to be working on the Escalade. It's got an electrical problem where it is not starting due to no communication with the electronic brake control module and no communication with the active suspension control module. I suspect that there's a internal fault in the active suspension control and it's shorting out the CAN bus communication and it won't start. So we are going to do some testing on the CAN bus and unplugging different modules to see which one it is. It's either the electronic brake control module has an internal short, but most likely it is the active suspension module. So we'll be checking that out. Here we go. So basically this thing has been having a couple electric issues since I've owned it, and the codes that it's been giving me are for no communication in the CAN bus lines. But up until this point, it's been very intermittent. So it'll work sometimes. I'll start to diagnose it, or it'll short out, whatever, stop working, and then I'll be working or whatever. And when I come back to it, it'll be just fine, and it'll be working again. So I haven't actually been able to take enough time, or because it's been so intermittent, I haven't had enough time with it not working to track it down, but it is currently still dead, and I'm working on tracking it down, and I think it's finally completely flaked out. But so it left me stranded at work, basically, kind of. It quit working and was giving me no communication codes while I was at work, so I just grabbed a scanner and scanned it, and it has these no communication codes with the ABS module and active suspension control. And in the past, when it's been flaking out, those are the same codes that it has been giving me. So I'm fairly confident that this is the same issue. But I guess I don't know for sure. I'm really hoping it is, because it's been very annoying trying to track down an intermittent electrical problem that could just, leave your car either not starting or just not shifting because of no communication with like transmission control or whatever, that kind of stuff. So hopefully this is it. But gave me these codes, and I was able to figure out, because of the no communication with the specific modules, the anti-lock brake, or the ABS module and the active suspension control, that there's this one connector down in here, this guy right here, and if you unplug it, I'm not sure exactly the other systems that are on this, it's got quite a few, but if you unplug this, it takes the anti-lock brakes and the suspension control out of the picture, basically, and the ECM and BCM and everything still works. So I was able to start it up and drive it home like that. So now we got to plug this back in, rescan it, make sure it's still got those same codes, and then unplug the brake module, see if that does it. If not, then unplug the suspension control module, and if it starts working again and we're able to start it when this is connected and the brakes are connected and the suspension is not, then we kind of know that it's that module going bad. So then I will order a new one and we'll get it programmed. I have the stuff to program it here at home, so that'll be all right. Get that charging while I do this. Here we go. Okay, so we got this connector hooked back up. We got the scanner hooked up to the vehicle, and we have pulled the codes from the body control module. We got lost communication with vehicle dynamic control. That is the active suspension control. This is the code right here. High speed communication enable circuit. Okay, so I've just been guessing that it's these two modules because we have lost communication with them in the ECM. We have lost communication with both brake and suspension control, and in the CAN bus line, the brake is downstream from the suspension control, so it's most likely that the brake it's either internal module failure in the suspension control, or it is a brake in the CAN bus line between or before the suspension control. So with unplugging that module, which goes to the suspension control and electronic brakes, it starts. With this code present, this plugged in, it will not start. So it has all the lights on the dash, and you try and start it, and nothing happens. Just goes black. Okay, so now we are going to shut this off for a second, go back, and we'll go back in the back, unplug the suspension control module, and see if it starts after that. If it does, then we're going to check on the brake control, or the ABS module, just in case. But yeah, we'll start with the suspension control. So we'll do that right now. Okay, we're underneath the back of the Escalade. Right here we have our air compressor, which I need to replace eventually because I have a new one and this one doesn't work. But right above here you can see kind of that little line there. It used to be a bracket that held the active suspension control module. This is the module. It looks kind of rough. So we've got it unplugged here. See if we can't get it off. There we go. Nice. That's good. So yeah, it's definitely seen better days. Let's go see. Well, it looks pretty good in there. But who knows? Yeah, it's just kind of been rattling around up there. And it's looking kind of rough. So we're going to go see if it'll start now. On. All right, it runs. So we know that that's part of the problem. Now, I am still going to check the brake module because the CAN bus lines run through the suspension module to the brake module, and the brake module could also cause this problem if it's having issues. So we'll plug it back in and check the brake module, because if it is the brake module and we unplug the suspension module, it would also cut communication to the brake module, if that makes sense. So we're going to have to plug the suspension module back in and then unplug the brake module and check that. So here we go. Alright, we're going to crawl back underneath this thing and see what we can see. So, right here is the electronic brake control module on the back side of this thing here. So that is it. This aluminum piece on the ABS system. So all your brake lines come here, and then they have the ABS module connected to them, and then you get lines going to the back and lines going back to the front. And if you have to replace this thing, there's teeny tiny little screws right there that will most likely strip out when you try and get it off. But anywho, that's where that is. Basically, it's right underneath where the driver sits. We'll take this off. Take a peek in there. That stuff all looks pretty decent. Let's look at the back side here if we can get a good look at it. I don't know if you can. All those look nice and not corroded, so that is good. It's a good sign. They all look that way on the suspension module, but that one, the module itself, looked kind of corroded. And this one doesn't look bad. It's got a little bit of corrosion around the screw holes where the screws pass through the module itself. But other than that, it looks pretty good. Let's go see if it'll start. Alright. Shut the lights off. Here we go. No start. So that means the brake-in communication is inside the active suspension module, and that it needs to be replaced or bypassed. You can bypass it if you look up the wiring diagram to find the pins for the high-speed can and the low-speed can. You can just put some jumper wires across them and then seal it with a plastic bag around the connector. Get it nice and sealed off so no crap can get in there and damage those wires. And then you will have codes for no communication with the module, but your ABS module and all that will still work. I'm going to replace the module because I have my own programming equipment, and the module is it's expensive, but it's not ridiculously expensive for me to replace. So I'm going to be replacing that. I'll have to order that. It'll be a couple of days before it gets here, so that will probably be in a different video. I might do some like walkthrough on programming modules with the MDI tool from GM and how that all works out. But that's going to be it for diagnosis for tonight. We know it's the suspension module. I can just leave it unhooked and not have ABS and still drive it around. I'll probably do that just to drive it to work tomorrow. But yeah, that's it for diagnosis. I think I'm gonna take a peek at replacing the air compressor tonight and try and maybe get some video with that. And then I got a front sway bar to put on this thing and a couple other things here and there, but we'll see about that for this video. But that is it for diagnosis. Buying a car that has, any new car that has a lot of electrical systems, but particularly these years of GM, they have a lot of electrical problems, but if you can diagnose them, it's not terrible. But yeah, there we go.